Hello, today we're going to be getting into the top 10 plot points in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Let's get into it. Our first plot point is the Montagues and Capulets have a long-standing feud. We find out at the very beginning that it was started over an airy word, which means that it was some sort of insignificant comment between Lord Capulet and Lord Montague. However, the younger generation seems to be continuing the fighting. Our second plot point is that Romeo and Juliet meet at the Capulet Party. They exchange words and then saliva. Unfortunately, Tybalt spots Romeo and he sees this as a dishonor, and he sees it as the ultimate sign of disrespect that Romeo showed up at his family's party, so he vows to get revenge. By the time the party is ending, Romeo finds out that Juliet is a Capulet, and Juliet finds out Romeo's a Montague. Plot point 3, Romeo sneaks into the Capulet orchard. Romeo and Juliet declare their love and decide to get married. Okay guys, that seems a little fast. Yes, they seem to have this deep passion for one another, but they barely know each other. All Romeo and Juliet know is that they want to be together, and they know that their feuding families will never allow that to happen. So this then leads to the domino effect we're going to see throughout the story, where they feel as though they need to keep their love hidden from the rest of the world. This, in a lot of ways, is also an act of rebellion. We know that Juliet's parents want her to marry this guy named Paris, and she has absolutely no interest in doing this. We also know that Romeo, prior to being in love with Juliet, is in love with this girl Rosaline, who's also a Capulet. So neither one of these characters seem to be taking the feud seriously, and they don't seem to have that hatred that other members of their family do toward the other family. Plot point 4. With the help of Friar Lawrence and the nurse, Romeo and Juliet secretly get married. It is important to note that nobody outside of these four characters knows about this wedding, and this secrecy is going to deeply impact the rest of the plot of this play. Plot point 5. Another fight breaks out. Tybalt keeps on trying to egg Romeo on. When Romeo refuses over and over to fight, Mercutio steps in to defend his honor. Tybalt and Mercutio go back and forth fighting. Romeo tries to step in the middle of them. When he gets in between, Tybalt, under his arm, stabs Mercutio. After Romeo realizes Mercutio's dead, he's enraged. He goes and he kills Tybalt. The prince then banishes Romeo from Verona and says if Romeo ever returns to Verona, or if they catch Romeo before he leaves, he will be put to death. Plot point 6. Juliet is obviously upset that her new husband just murdered her cousin. However, once she gets over that fact, she is clearly more upset that Romeo has been banished from Verona, because she obviously wants to be with him. Now, her parents think she's crying over the death of her cousin, so they decide to cheer her up with a marriage between her and Paris. You know, because that's what we all want when we're grieving, is to have our parents force us into a marriage with somebody we don't want to be married to. Fun times. So a big problem here for Juliet is that she is already married to somebody else. So this brings us to plot point 7. In order to avoid marriage with Paris, Friar Lawrence gives Juliet a potion that will make her appear dead. She will be buried in the Capulet tomb, where Romeo will come for her. Plot point 8. Friar Lawrence intends to let Romeo know about the plan via letter. Unfortunately, due to some unfortunate circumstances, the letter never arrives to Romeo, and Romeo finds out from his servant that Juliet is dead. Not fake dead. He thinks she's real dead. Romeo is distraught by this news and decides that his life is no longer worth living if Juliet is not in it, and he goes to this shady apothecary to buy some poison. Plot point 9. Romeo goes to Juliet's tomb with the poison. He spots Paris, and Paris thinks that Romeo must be there for no other reason than to vandalize Juliet's grave. A fight ensues, and Romeo ends up killing Paris. He instantly feels remorse over this and ends up bringing Paris's body into the tomb with him. Romeo spots Juliet, and he looks at her, commenting on how alive she looks, and this is an ultimate instance of dramatic irony, where we in the audience know that Juliet is still alive, is about to wake up, and Romeo just has no idea. And as he's looking at Juliet, he opens the poison and takes it, and the poison acts quickly and kills Romeo. Plot point 10. Juliet wakes up and sees Romeo's body lying next to her on the ground. She goes to see if there's more poison, and when there's not, she grabs Romeo's dagger and kills herself. After both of these deaths, we see that the families finally reconcile. The final lines of the play convey that yes, there is finally peace between the families, but it came at a great cost. In the prince's words, "A glooming peace this morning with it brings, the sun for sorrow will not show his head. Go hence to have more talk of these sad things, some shall be pardoned and some punished. For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo."